Well, hi everyone, and welcome to the virtual Cobalt Cafe. It's week number 286 of our series. My name is Rick Looper. Glad to have you here with us tonight. In addition to our open reading, our featured reader is Ellen Webre. Ellen, really happy that you are here. Thanks for being with us tonight. Nice to see you again. Looking forward to your reading. We're going to do a little bit of our open reading first, and then we will get to Ellen, and it's going to be a whole fantastic evening. Gosh darn it. If you would like to read and you haven't already done so, please send me a message in the chat letting me know you'd like to read. Maybe wait till I'm done with these opening remarks because I find I tend to miss a lot of messages when I'm trying to get the thing going here. So um, I don't want to miss you. So stand by, but do be prepared to send me a message saying you would like to read, and I'll be happy to add you. When you're on the list, when it's your turn, you get to read up to 2 poems. That's our maximum, and our suggested time limit is less is more. Having said all that, there is also a 1 drink minimum here at the Cobalt Cafe. Make sure you have a beverage with you to help sate yourself in some way that makes you happy or quenched, if you will, throughout the festivities. Finally, make sure you have the chat room open so that way you can interact with each other throughout the event since the mute is on otherwise. So there you go. That's everything I need to tell you. Before we get to our first open reader, I would like to ask if there are any questions. Yes, Cathabella.
Rick, what do you have resistance to, or what does maybe that's simple enough.
Resistance. The first thing I think of when I hear the word resistance is the phrase resistance is futile, which either comes from the book Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy or it's something that Daleks say in Doctor Who. I'm not sure I get those two species confused sometimes.
Wow.
Um, uh, but also, without having any particular objective, sometimes I like to just go out to my window and look out into the street and yell, resist. So those are the things that come to mind.
Perfect.
Oh, the
I love
Borg
it.
could be the Borg too. Yeah, all of those had a similar line there. So that's what comes to mind when I think
Yay.
of resistance. All right, thank you, Cathabella. Good question. Martin, what's your question?
Good evening, Rick. I was just wondering tonight if you've ever been laid off and if you want to share anything about that experience.
Yeah, all the time. I'm a freelancer, and so I very frequently, clients come and go. So, sometimes you have clients for a while and they go away and you get other ones. So I'm in a constant fear of being laid off, and it's happened many times in that sense. Not so much in the traditional sense of having like a salary job, which ended, though that did happen once a long time ago, and I guess it wasn't pleasant, is how I would express that.
Yeah, I've had several of them, and most of them haven't been pleasant, although I find I have more time to write poetry. That's when I wrote most of my poetry before the pandemic and these online workshops.
Sure. That's always the benefit of not having responsibility is more time to create art, which is what we should all be doing instead of paying bills and working for it. So a good
That's my
point
life
there.
these days,
Yeah,
not paying bills.
very good. Well, you're living the dream, Martin. Well done. Round of any other questions before we get going? Denise, yes.
Yes, Rick, I wanted to know, have you ever written under a pseudonym or had an alternate persona that you used for your poetry?
Um, no, no, I never have. Unless there's someone's work who you really like a lot, who you don't know who it is, that could be me.
Okay, thanks.
Sure. Good question. Any other question? Sarita Martin, yes.
Hi, everyone. I haven't seen you for a while. Finally got in here. Rick, did you find your pet rock yet?
I guess you're riffing on what I posted today, which was
Yes.
that I was considering getting a pet rock, but it felt like it was a 4.5 billion year commitment that I wasn't ready to live up to.
Oh, okay. Just wondered.
But yeah. All right. Thanks for asking, though. Good question. Thanks for paying attention. All right, folks, I think we're going to get on with the open reading. We're going to have 5 open readers and then our featured reader, Ellen Webre, and then the rest of the open reading. Michael G. Hickey, you are on deck. You'll be our second reader. Please welcome our first reader, Jeffrey Bryant. Hi, Jeffrey.
Hi there. I was going to read something political, but I think I'm going to go in a totally different direction. Uh, this is a poem written by a movie. I finally became a classic, unrestored, dirt on my frames, all jumpy and blurry. I hold the last kiss of the actress who overdosed in her dotage, and her co-star floating in George Cukor's pool. I am nitrate, flammable as Nathaniel West's final chapter, whistling fire while walking out on a frolic room tab. I'm like Bill Frawley one day, lying dead on Ivar, then young and hung the next, toweling rejection off an actor's back at the baths. I fell out of favor crossing Yucca, hiding in the lemon twist, toasting who I used to be before I became too fragile to restore. My frames full of players, all commissary plump, dead but thirsty, with stories of Jack Warner and Harry Cohn, their only currency. Just spool me up and set me aflame in the projector's light. Cremation is cheap, like my budget, like my denouement, like my deux ex machina, like a good bee should be. But I cannot bear the weight of being ignored, even free on Amazon. Second poem. Another movie themed poem. See if you can guess the movie. There she is, Barbara Stanwyck, clicking her wit-coated tongue, her voice deep enough to unsettle concrete beneath a gangster's feet. And Gary Cooper, too hot to stand next to shelves of books, hot enough to puff Cuddles' cheeks. Ah, love is in the air. Put your hand back where it was in our monochrome backlot darkness. I am your popcorn and you are buttered for my pleasure. I am Barbara, delicious and forbidden as the contents of a flask. You are Gary, wearing cheekbones against the law, slowly tasting my nightclub vocabulary with your curious kisses. So much research in every mouthful of lingua fatale. Kiss me goodnight. Howard Hawks is waiting for us, and all those people too out there in the dark. Thank you.
Jeff, what a treat to have you start us off tonight. Always really solid work. I'm happy to hear your voice in this space. May it go on forever. Thank you for being here. Round of applause for Jeffrey Bryant. Melody Brumides, you are on deck. Please welcome now Michael G. Hickey. Hello, Michael.
Hi, everybody. It's nice to be here. we were talking politics a little bit at the outset, and remember bicentennial quarters back in 1976? Some people enough remember bicentennial quarters. One time, my wife, I didn't know what the time was saving them, and I used her whole jar up to buy beer, and this did not go over well. So I'm going to read 2 poems, and the first one is called "Part of the Jar is Still Empty." I drink late in the afternoon at a downtown tavern in Tucson, Arizona. Every thirsty patron who opens the door unleashes a flash flood of desert sunlight, which blinds the crowd like a deity. The bartender makes change for an old-timer perched next to me who drinks whiskey, sings off key, and delicately turns over each quarter. Only quarters, not nickels or dimes. He studies both sides of the coin meticulously as an archaeologist picking through fossils, and I have to know why. I'm 78 years old, son. Outlived the wife Mavis by 12 years. She got the saving thing, buttons, pine cones, and the like. Took to collecting bicentennial quarters in a pickle jar on the nightstand. Never heard of such a thing. I wish you would have told me those were fancy quarters, because one day I used them all clean up for beer money. She cried that night. She died the next day. I think I broke her heart to death. So I keep searching for fancy quarters to fill up that jar. Part of the jar is still empty, son, and that's where I live. So I give the old timer all my quarters, and as he checks each side, I escape to face the liquid desert sun outside. Thank you. And here's my second one. This is off my new book, Orgy at the Chinchilla Ranch. And this one is called Nerve Endings. When God got bored with black holes, solar systems, and polar ice caps, he decided to make something with real cognitive potential, nothing like those dumb dinosaurs. The concept alone was exhilarating, the most excited the Almighty had been since inventing the double rainbow. He knew exactly what he wanted these little living mirrors to look like. The man would be strong, hardworking, and hairy, maybe play poker or beer league softball on the weekends. The woman would be soft, smooth, write poetry, and paint spectacular sunsets. Note to self, invent poetry and spectacular sunsets. Humans, both men and women, would be his greatest creation ever. Now, time for the next step, procreation. How to make these humans want to make more humans. Unlike Genesis, there was no need to conjure up a female mate for a male named Adam. God created several women and an equal number of men at the outset just in case he needed spare parts. Even with the Almighty, perfection was often trial by error. Why create an erection without some place to put it? Later would come leather, lace, latex, lingerie, negligees, and feather boas. Even in all his glory, the good Lord admittedly still had a few kinky kinks to work out in the procreation protocol, but he did know one thing for sure. Sex had to be dynamic. Sex had to feel good, really good, or else humans would just sit around and eat all day. Wait just a minute, Your Eminence. In the mezzanine section, one of the inner sanctum archangels with top security clearance exclaimed, "All of them?" Yep, God said. You're seriously considering putting all those leftover nerve endings in there? Really? Isn't that a big extreme, oh wise one? About to find out. God dumped them all in, emptied the entire remaining stockpile of nerve endings directly into the genitalia blueprint for both male and female prototypes. What if it feels so good they won't stop? Another archangel said. What if they just have sex all day and do nothing else? Have we already forgotten about the Sodom and Gomorrah experiment on the horizon? And a third angel added, remember, Almighty One, you were the one who signed off on free will. A lot of angels are still ticked off about that one. And Gaia is furious about the menstrual cycle. Not only is it every month, it starts with the word men. Hey, God interrupted. That was a compromise. Gaia agreed to take the menstrual cycle and childbirth if she got to keep multiple orgasms. Nerve endings. The Almighty took all this under advisement, for certainly it was going to require additional overtime for guardian angels at every security level. Still, God was a gambler, always had been. And at the very least, these humans would be vastly more amusing than those dinosaurs, especially once humans learn to make waffles and play the slide trombone. Thank you.
You've covered a lot of important ground here, Michael, that we'll all be thinking about privately later. Thank you so much for that piece. Thanks for being here. A round of applause for Michael G. Hickey and his many fantastic nerve endings. On deck, Christopher T. George, please welcome Melody Bromides. Hello, Melody. Melody, are you there? You got to unmute. There you go.
I'm here. I had to unmute. Do this every time, and I still forget how to do it. Okay, well, that was quite a show before me. I did appreciate that. But anyway, this is a little calmer. It's called Spring is Near. The weather has changed, whether it's winter or spring. I don't know what to do. New York was bombed with 15 feet of snow. I'm ready to plant tomatoes, but I must take it slow. I no longer listen to the weatherman. Robins in my big tree have more command. When they build their nest, I do the rest. Plant tomatoes in half a wine cask. Life is good, make it last. My Uncle Bruce turned 93. He's happy in the sun, living free. Aunt Dot left a long time ago. I thought they'd be together forever. When one goes, then forever is not forever. My wife wants insurance on me. Pay off the house, I say, when I go. Take it fast or take it slow. I wear shorts and a tee, decide it's spring. Look outside for a bee, decide to no longer kill the ants. They leave my room, go to my son's, get in his pants. My sister, the Buddhist, believes in karma. Be nice to ants, she says. I go there without being a Buddhist. Too much silent meditation for a big mouth like me. Spring is here. Ants, mosquitoes, bees, let them be. I tell my neighbor, a ladybug crossed my path. It's good luck. You have pluck, he agrees with me. What he doesn't know, a cadre of ants crossed my path too. It could happen to you. Enjoy your life. Be clear. Spring is near. That's it. Thank you.
Melody, thank you. So glad you figured out how to unmute. It benefits us all to actually be able to hear you. Well done.
Okay,
Nice
thank
poem.
you.
Nice poem as well. Thanks so much for being here. Round of applause for Melody Bromides. We got two more readers than our featured reader, Ellen Weber. Denise Dumars, you are on deck. Please welcome Christopher T. George. Hi, Christopher.
Hi, Rick. Going to do a couple of things related to my late father. Blizzard of 79. I rage right as I remember the snow blizzard of 1979 when cancer devoured my father while the snow piled up. A medic who had helped the ill, subjugated by the system. How he told me he'd become a guinea pig in a clinical trial. 2 months more to seal the deal. Dead at 64. I mourned then as I mourn now. Aware of all that was stolen from me. It's my father. And quite a different poem. The world is unruly with white. It seems doubtful if we'll ever see the road again. In a city Everyone is looting. The law of children reigns. They are running through the basilicas, kicking an old man in the street. His Roman nose is the bloody pulp. A2, A2, A2. Winter rages in our living room. Cancer cells in my father have been running wild all winter. In his lung and in his blood. The seams of his pajamas have been cutting him into him like knives. In the shift my mother makes him, he resembles Almighty Caesar. Physicians and the senators stand by and watch him fall, bend over him, listening with stethoscopes as he coughs blood. A2, A2, A2. He's like a parcel of bones, waiting for the archaeologist's trial. Waiting for the looters, the grave robbers, to steal everything. There are too many knives. Every wound is fatal. The vast shoulder of snow heaves against the house. Can't open the door. We are sealed in this box forever. Thank you.
Christopher, thank you. Thanks for memories of your dad. It's nice to see a little glimpse of him there, so we can, fully flesh out the picture of you and where you came from. Thanks for being here. Round of applause for Christopher T. George. On deck, our featured reader, Ellen Webre. Please welcome now Denise Dumars. Hello, Denise.
Hi. I was reading today about Portugal's probably most famous poet, Fernando Pessoa, and I learned that he had up to 75 pseudonyms, and they called them heteronyms. I'd never heard that word before, but apparently he had entire personas for these 75 other personalities. I think in the soap operas, they call that dissociative identity disorder. Anyway, this one's called Sometimes I Wish. Sometimes I wish I were a heteronym of Fernando Pessoa, and I could write all the nonsense I want and have it attributed to someone really famous, fancy like a llama's fur, green soldiering in the mud like a hero, entirely unafraid of lung cancer, Americans, or poetry itself. Sometimes I wish my words were not by a woman, because as a woman, my words are judged in a certain way. Has a man like Pessoa ever had a female heteronym? If so, I'd really be surprised. Did Pessoa know Aleister Crowley? I think he said he did, but he might have made that up. Was Pessoa pen pals with H.P. Lovecraft, a lover of Remedios Varo, a secret policeman like John le Carre? Sometimes people say they know, but they don't. To have a heteronym means never having to say who you really are. A three-armed wallaby, an alien mollusk, a wanderer from Atlantis. Just give me the benefit of the doubt. I'm all those things too. And another weird one, this one's called The Killing Sea. While on the contours of ancient dragon spines, ellipsed, flensed, and polished, our expedient notions clash with ochre light, bright ribbons of indecision incised on once perfected flesh, the holy scarlet of vessel fluid, the Machiavellian hooves and heels that create our masterpiece of never knowing, the intellect a mere sandbar in the ocean of ignorance. Fluttering lashes on the crashing waves of elephant seals, nature's jokes and royalty of the absurd. Weep not or wail for wisdom, it isn't coming. None of this is making any sense. The lost last miracle is sensate, cribbed by the bankrupt lid of the pot of unholy glowing. You once tried this way yourself, and now it sparks pain and nothing for exhaustion in the glaucous gloaming of the shell secret gods of the inane, the muttering sea at the end of the beginning of drowning in the gelid being once known as the world's pure waters of birth. Thank you.
Solid work tonight, Denise, and I'm finally ready to admit that I am a three-armed wallaby. So I appreciate you just kind of, making me comfortable in this space to be able to say that. And check out the link to the book that Sean posted to literary responses, poets writing in response to Fernando Pessoa. You might already know about it, but might as well continue the journey there. And thanks for posting that, Sean. Denise, thank you so much. Round of applause for Denise Dumars. On deck after our featured reader will be Mr. Tezozomok, which leads us now to our featured reader, Ellen Webre. Ellen, I'm super happy that you're here. I connected with Ellen a little bit last year when I got to read at a reading in Long Beach with a lot of good people. She's been a part of the scene here in Southern California for a while, is one of the co-hosts of Two Idiots Peddling Poetry. Are they ready to rebrand that as Three Idiots, or are you the token not idiot, Ellen? Think
Well,
about
I
that.
am the third idiot of Two Idiots Peddling Poetry, or Two Idiots Peddling Poetry plus Ellen. It depends on the day.
Depends on the day. That's so cool as far as I'm concerned. I think that series is a beloved series. It's been going on for decades now, run with love and persistence by you and Steve Ramirez and Ben Trigg. When the Cobalt was an in-person series for a long time, I always felt that either the Ugly Mug was the Cobalt of the South or we were the Ugly Mug of the North. I'm not sure. But I feel a kinship and a love for that series, and really excited that you're still a part of it, making it happening, and really just that it's still happening. That feels like really important work that you're doing to keep that show on the road for so long. So well done. Ellen is also a social media marketing specialist and a videographer for Moontide Press, which is another important Southern California institution, which has really exploded over the last several years, and I think is having a kind of a renaissance of work that you're producing there. So thank you, Ellen, for your work that you do for them as well. Ellen has featured at a number of places, including the Pondwater series, which is a really cool place in Southern California, run by a woman named Joanne Baines, who just has a pool in her backyard that she turned into a pond and then invited people to come over and read poetry every month. So check that out if you can. Ellen is a former managing editor at Spillway Magazine, a former editor of Freeze Ray Magazine. These are all such cool things. And her debut book of poems, A Burning Lake of Paper Suns, which is the coolest assemblages of words to create a title I've heard in a while. So well done there. Came out in 2021 and won a Best Indie Author Award a year later. Ellen, thrilled that you're here. Please welcome our featured reader, Ellen Webre.
Thank you all so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm really lucky that I've gotten to be connected to so many amazing poetry places in Southern California. I did get a question, how do I find the series? We are Two Idiots Peddling Poetry on Facebook, and on Instagram we are Poetry Idiots. So I'm going to be reading some new work and maybe a few poems from my book, which feels like such a long time ago now, but working on the new manuscript. So my first poem is called A Plague of Angels. We remember when the contagion spread across her body, the slits unthreading her skin, the voices echoing out of each open mouth like a ravaged dialect of ecstasy. They cried, they screamed, they spoke, and red ants poured out, infested her poisoned hair with an itching we could feel for miles. We remember the prayer clasp of her hands, the haunted wrists that watched with 47 eyes. No heat could burn her, no dog would bite her. So we paraded the girl through the streets, our very own Saint Wretched, a broken window to heaven, our winged and clawed angel who spoke in dirges, in tongues, in evidence of our blessings. We remember the miracles that came, how her gaze resurrected dead lovers, made the barren bear fruit in the meadow. We anointed our eyes with the honey of her lips and were granted visions of our ghosts. It was enough to feed her with milk and mirrors. She never complained about the sacrifice of her unblemished muscles, the childhood she lost. We remember she disappeared one day, carried off by 5,000 winged butterflies, blue and gold. Summoned to the stars, we said, for divine reward. That was before the plague of it. The tears, the teeth, the eruptions of bodies within bodies that never die. We owe her so much, our harbinger of ruination. We know her as the answer, but not her real name. The next one, another newer poem. I want to sleep. I don't want to sleep. In my dreams, I become someone you do not want to lose. I curl into your dark left hand, round and fragrant as a plum plucked from the wild. You roll me from palm to palm like a pendulum. I say yes, no. Hold me again to your grave, and I will answer questions you'll never ask in the daylight, repeating confessions you make when we are alone. It is impossible to rearrange my body in this way. Spill divination, devotion, the dreadful death growing ripe in my sternum. If ever you thought to put your faith in the shrapnel of me, I would empty myself of language and lie down beside you. For it is only there where you touch my face. Only there I become feral and obscene against each sigh you undress. I am starving in this dream, light-headed and wrecked with the knowledge of your ghosts. Do you understand? I want to be what vanishes when you do. And this one is from my first book called Guzzle for Unbecoming, after Angel Nafis. If none of your lovers come, dismantle your landscape. Be indiscriminate with your hours, become trimethylamine, the fragrance of an inescapable girl. Then erase your speech. Bury yourself south until you are root cock legs, a buried corm, a botanical split along the bedrock, you vegetative girl. Kill the clarity on the window and suspect the rivers of your infamy. Taper the sun's entrails around your spangled carpals, just like another dead girl. When you arrive, keep going. Gain hate. Even this poison is an ecstasy. Let this inflorescence be a rapture when you lay eggs in the carcass of a girl. Unlearn what the corpse flower forgets. Spathe by spadix, each living grave becomes a blasphemy of strangers, of carrion beetles, the truth of a flesh fly girl. The baddest bliss is a junkyard garden where you were born bleeding. Devil, cut this breath, wither the stalk, release the ghost, the colony, the stench, the girl. So that one I did from an exercise that Brendan Constantine has mentioned before, where you take a poem and make each word its opposite. So Angel Nafis had a poem and it was a guzzle for becoming, and I made this the unbecoming. And then I rearranged the lines, but essentially that is where the root of that poem came from. Scatter the bones of ancient meals warmed in wood smoke. I sit enthralled by what burns in the dark. The scent is the same as eons ago, when the soil was rich with longing, when the wind was a fragrant language. You kindle the light, and I wish I could taste the secrets lining the fire glow of your wrists, to nimble my tongue over arteries pulsing with wild ancestries, the mercies of yesterdays, this melody of all that resists obliteration. There is a fever here, assembled in songs I do not know how to sing, but they live in the silence between each breath you take. If the stars hold the answers, unflinching and oracular, then let us make a home of this night. Rest your bones by my bones, and speak of a future laced with salvation. Repeat until I recognize its promise as I do my own name, tender and thick with belonging. An illusion, I know, please. If this is all that is left, slide your hand into mine, and let this be some future's beginning, some future's endless end. And this next one is called Our Lady of Apocalypse, starting with a line by Tracy Brimhall. She wrote the most amazing books. I'm definitely highly recommend you check that out. Imagine half the world ends and half the world continues, bathed in flames. A country made wretched by heretics who root the soil, whose ashes have inked black the eyelids of a fatal woman. I have tasted at the earth beneath her heels as if the berries she has crushed beneath them were libation for a starving god. She moves like a trail of smoke. She listens with a body that is a door to exile. Tell me, pilgrim, that her hands are condemned animals. Tell me her smile is an open grave, so I do not slice her song across the throat of every sailor. Imagine I do this instead of bringing her the dead men, with blistered skins and maps tattooed upon them. Imagine I do not watch her feed, do not grow jealous of their salvation. I have a fugitive heart. I live, I trespass, obedient to all that is raw and wailing. You seek absolution, knock-kneed and penitent, as if she would choose to save you. Hold your prayers. Can't you see it? Heaven is already here. And the next one is called There Are Women Who Hold Skulls, like the children they cannot carry, clamping chatter-teeth ivory around strangleholds of neck and breast, murmuring out the wild moans of forest deer in wolf jaw. There are women who slide fingers through eye sockets, drink wine from skull caps, swishing blood in round circles. They take their feasts in tents, On rugs of fur, gold rings on every finger. These are black-nailed daughters of sirens moved inland, where lounges fill with the pomegranate smoke of their breathing. These are the knife-fight fools of the alleyways, the crystal globe diviners, the cold-hearted kick and cackle of the nighttime. There are women who hold skulls of the children who failed to be born, bursting into blood muck by moonlight, slipping through stained fingers and pitched into pyres. Hollow-eyed and paying no debts to sorrow, they are never to feel remorse, never to feel hearts beating double in their bodies. In these days, we pick at purpled veins snaking our wrists, our breasts, as dark a river as any oil in the earth. We dig to find what our heartbeats know to be true, grow heavy-breathed, smearing red dust upon our thighs to bury the landing place where unwanted sons and daughters may be delivered should the ground break beneath our feet and leave us senseless from our obedience to the law. We gather at the river, wringing our clothes in our hands, backs bent like oxen over what will rip at the seams when our bellies bloat, when we wax round like pomegranates before the bursting, before we vanish into syllables of blood and poppies, and become what we most want to forget. Just us and the void. The dark tasted like rice wine, like ghost fire. It's us, echoes of bronze and steel, the distant laughter of the boneyard. Beneath a butcher's boots, we are a pair of lamentations. We are beyond all questions, spineless with our boundaries. How empty you cry. And yes, it is a hushed impossibility that we should ever find a shape with which to hold each other's hands again. Ophelia, imagine slipping beneath the ice, letting all the turmoil disappear when you drink the midnight of blackberry oleander wine. It's just a thought. When the nightmares make a sublime riot in your skin, ossifying fear into what coils the spine, into what beckons scavengers to circle the crown of rotten roses, bargaining for sanctuary in your head. Do you know what love is? How it withers when caged in the nest of an unmoved pelvis. You are not the first to receive death and desire like a pincushion. Oh, my daughter, my dreadful daughter, you are not the last. And my last poem is, in the end, I am just as pierced by the black thorn as you. I have found it, the voice of an ancient land, the tongue you've sought, syruped in elderberry, white-bloomed in dogwood. Here is the spirit that mends the words, the place where lineage divides and melds, embroidered by the thread of my lost language. It is known the dead speak only of practical matters, and only if given the tribute of eternal silence. In this good night, we are made the shrike's prey, its hungered harvest. We ripen as the rhythm of our pulsing atriums slow. Our flesh is the feast birds pick at, our breath a sacrifice to the unnameable. So touch me then, with feathered fingertips, the last exhilaration, the final way we know the world. Thank you.
Ellen, you know how sometimes at readings after people, read poems or say a particular line, someone in the audience will go, "Oh, you've had this experience, right?" I feel like every single line of your poems is an O line. I'm not sure how you get through a reading in person with that kind of disruption going on. You should call your next book O, because I feel that will sum up all the work that is in it. That was really extraordinary. I mean, I could just sit here and read back all of your poems to you to let you know the lines that I dug. I mean, starting with I'll answer questions you'll never ask in the daylight, and going on from there. So I thank you so much. What an extraordinary set of poems you read for us in an extraordinary manner. Thanks for calling out Brendan. I always think it's cool when I hear how people are continually learning from him. I think the exercise that you mentioned inspired his poem, The Opposites Game. And he's got a brand new book called The Opposites Game, which comes out a week from Friday. So that's kind of exciting news, which reminded me about. I feel like you could just go into an elevator with Brendan and come out with 20 poems. I mean, he's just that good. But Ellen, it's not about Brendan tonight. It's about you, and that was a truly satisfying set of poems to hear the words of and to listen to you read. So thank you so much for that. I'm going to paste some stuff in the chat and share the screen to show the broadside I made for the poem that you sent. There it is. You can download this broadside now at the Cobalt Poets website. Link in the chat. If you're not watching on the Zoom, it's poetrysuperhighway.com/cobalt. Click on broadsides. You can download this. This is how we compensate our featured poets. Hope that you'll consider tipping our reader for their reading. In this case, Ellen has given both a PayPal and a Venmo ID, so you could take your pick. It's the same thing as dropping money in the hat for a featured reader at an in-person reading. So please consider tipping our reader for her phenomenal reading tonight. Download the broadside, and you can check out Ellen's book, A Burning Lake of Paper Suns, just to have that title on your bookshelf looking at you, so you could look at the book just at the title and go, "Oh," you know what I'm saying? So there's a link to the book there as well. So Ellen, thank you again so much. That was really phenomenal.
Thank you. And thank you so much for that broadside. It's beautiful.
My pleasure. Thank you. Glad you like it. Cool. All right. Well, and I definitely recommend that you check out any of the many things that Ellen helps orchestrate in Southern Cal. If you're in Southern Cal, it's a good time for all. So thank you, Ellen. I will quickly mention next week, which technically is next month, so I guess I'm sort of correct there. Our featured reader will be Kazuaki, who's a poet from Japan who writes tanka, and he's part of the group of people who are co-mingle and share with us. So that's going to be a special reading to have someone all the way from Japan reading from us as our featured reader. So Kazuaki next week, which leads us now to the rest of tonight's open reading. Here's who I have on the list in this order. If anyone would like to be added, please send me a message in the chat. And forgive me if you already did that and somehow I missed it. Here's who's on the list. Mr. Tezozomok, Debbie Siegel, Martin Parker, Beth Amato, Jackie and Cathabella, Bill Gaines, Sarita Martin, Sean Mahoney, Ken Scott, Heidi Casa, and me. As a friendly reminder, if you came late or forget or like to ignore these things, 2 poems maximum, less is more is the suggested time limit. On deck is Debbie Siegel. Please welcome now Mr. Tezozomok. Hello, Tez.
Hi there. Just to remind folks that I am scheduled to be at the end of next month, correct, Rick?
I'll have to check the calendar, but I know you're coming up.
On the 31st, yeah. All right, I have 2 pieces. I'm going to come in with this first piece titled The Abyss of Trauma. We must vacate and abandon abolishment. When the body is rendered immobile, we focus on trauma, the law, desire, and how the transgression enters our gaze. It shatters idyllic life, customary order, and the mendacity of quotidian life. The suspense results from shattering the semiotic fiction of totality. This device becomes the cognitive disturbance against the exterior thread that is drawn into the interior when the transgression contaminates the fictional whole. The surplus knowledge is itself enough to maintain trauma for a long time, even far from the field of view. The intersection of trauma as the inner tension that invades social fantasy of wholeness, the 0 degree of suspense, the neutral gaze loses its objectivity, its transparency, becoming reflected in the mirror stage of the return of the real. Shame represents the point where gaze enters facet male, moving into the unease and the sense of instability and anxiety. Shame as the black screen of the window with the malfunctioning neon sign of the crime, the landscape, the facade, the stain that can't be hidden like the jet of urine against the wall, the anxious suspense of intimate mixture of panic, movement, immobility, of the viscosity of terror. Finally, the scarred silhouette blot is the counterpart, the concentrated point, the 0 degree that accomplishes the form of the positive expression. Then I move on to my second piece. This is titled Buford Benally. At 8:24:19 on March 3rd, 2021, the code was called Buford and husband, Hahastin, father, Shishishne, and grandfather, Shinali, started his journey to the Milky Way, Yaka Ish Dahi, no longer the long walk, the Heli, but the trail of stars, while no longer the practice of mounting the ash body on a horse and heading as far north as possible, where the horse was slaughtered and both buried in a fellowship towards the light in the night sky. Desmond Benally, his wife of 22 years, sat in disbelief looking at the white erase board with the crash cart timeline at the Presbyterian Rust Medical Center in Rio Rancho, New Mexico. At 8:06, it read, start PT unresponsive, CPR initiated. Before that, he was the loving father of 3 girls. Something Desba had always wanted for him was a grandson. Hatsoy Ashki Gigli. He was given a pulse check. Cupid, his Hatsoy Ashki, would not be born till close to a year past Buford's passing. But he would have to wait till the age of 4, past the 4 years of the Ned tradition of not naming the dead. At 8:09, he was given the first 1 milligram of epinephrine. At 8:10 and 8:11, he was given 1 amp of bicarb each time. Something Despa was not totally in line since she was originally from Chevak, Alaska, a federally recognized Yupik village with a population of 951 in 2020. At 8:12:49, he was given a second 1 milligram of epinephrine. They had been married for 22 years. After spending a week working Despa in close quarters, he asked her to be his girlfriend. 6 months later, he asked to marry him. At 8:15, with a failure to show a repeatable pulse, a central line was placed to the right femoral with 1 amp of dextrose and a third 1 milligram of epinephrine. Despa was very angry that she couldn't mourn Buford openly. The Dene saw death as a natural part of life. Grief or mourning was akin to blasphemy. The grandmothers, the Shimashani, suggested that the Creator had made a mistake when deciding it was time for someone's life to end. And on that point, Despa was in agreement. At 8:16, no pulse. At 8:18:49, fourth 1 milligram of epinephrine given. At 8:19, a Neo-Doran and anti-rhythmic given. She had chosen to marry him in the traditional way in Navajo land on her grandmother's hogan by a Dene medicine man into a culture with a good of the power of spoken language. Speaking about Buford's death and other negative subjects was taboo and might attract death. At 8:20, normal saline was started. At 8:21, his ETCO2 equaled 11, where it should have been above 90. That's why could not bring herself to the act of not choosing not to speak about Buford, even if it was a form of veneration or respect. To a degree, the Dene tradition thought that it is more disrespectful to speak of the dead because doing so would interfere with their journey to the afterlife. At 8:21, he was given 1 milligram of epinephrine. At 8:22, no pulse detected. She did not want her daughters or granddaughters and Cupid to be shadowed by Buford's chindi, a spirit that remains after a person has died. It was all of a sudden, even though his test for COVID-19 came back negative, she had accepted that if Buford had become sick, the Creator had made a mistake. At 8:24, no pulse. At 8:24:19, code was called.
Tez, thank you so much for your work tonight. Well done, solid material you're bringing to us. And yes, March 31st, you will be here as our featured reader. Looking forward to that. And thank you for being here just as a regular Cobalt citizen. In the meantime, you've been coming more lately and I've been digging it. So thanks for being here. A round of applause for Mr. Tezozomok. On deck, Martin Parker. Please welcome Debbie Siegel. Hi, Debbie.
Hi, Rick. Hi, everyone. Wow, Tez, that was deep. Okay. She flies further. Longing for my daughter's mother's mother, in dreams, we'd sing of the old country, lighting old paths, hurrying. The queue is moving. Don't get lost. Head slowly forward, overcoming hardness. Mother, where are you coming from? No place to be but lost. Steer the shopping cart toward a darker night, mother. Rain reflected in salmon-papered walls with ballerinas. Dance down the beaver moon for my lost mother. Darkness, please wait for me. I too am lost. I too am a mother's mother. Reaching for a frosty root beer in the icebox. Twilight moments on the front porch. Mother, you were blind to the magic of dark spaces, breaking the full length of the mirror. Now, how will we discern the complex patterns, difficult to break? Mother, talking wasted and wasting time. Do marigolds stink like rotten daisies, mother? Stripping to the panties here in my shadow. Can you believe we got lost returning the cart to the market, mother? You'd been so worried. I'd be so lost. I'd be stuck sorting the spare parts, never separating square from circle, fact from fiction. Instead of talking, you gaze into the dusky rose and purple vistas, shrugging like a fawn in the backyard. Mares eat oats and does eat oats and little lambs eat ivy. A kid'll eat ivy too, wouldn't you? Trembling like a nightmare, never returning to the garden, mother. I begged for amends before your voice was lost. Now here it is, dark 30 on the patio, and I hear the owl, mother. She flies earlier than I rise. She tells me, above all, Love is not lost. Wahoo! 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 Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. That was a lot of fun. I don't know if this was intentional, but there's definitely some Twin Peaks references in there from Leland Palmer singing Mersey Dotes and Dozy Dotes at a particular episode in that series, and then shortly after you said owls. So I mean, that's where my head went. But I really dug that, even if that wasn't intentional. Thank you so much for being here. Nice to see you. Round of applause for Debbie Siegel. On deck, Beth Amato. Please welcome Martin Parker. Hello, Martin.
Hello again, Rick. Thank you, Debbie, for singing one of my mother's favorite songs, which I didn't realize was in Twin Peaks. So now I have to remember that. But I've got to start with a poem here I wrote recently called Altered Reality. Instead of a layoff, try calling it an opportunity, a chance to get lost in the chaos of a new paradigm, one that never seems to align with anything I know, but neither did the ways I worked before, stealing rare moments to express the colors in my soul. Instead of a distraction, try calling it a whole new way of looking at life, to keep gravity from sucking me down into the pit of despair over how do I stand on my own 2 feet, as more words than ever flow from my heart and spill out into the world. And I'm running low on original poems that I haven't read here before, so I thought I'd try something I used to do at the late lamented Chaos Magic open mic, where they tended to do a cover and an original. And I looked up if there's any other poems out there with the title Altered Reality, and I found this one written by Rachel or Rachel Korn, a prominent Yiddish language poet born in 1898 in what's now Ukraine, and relocated by the Soviet Union during World War II to Uzbekistan for a while before she eventually immigrated to Canada. This is called Altered Reality. Space and time alter as if they'd known it all along, the alien world that made me the dividing line between today and yesterday. Things and people no one needs stand beside me now, shamed and useless, and wait for my word to take them to the border where the other side of time begins. Thank you very much. And I'll put my usual links in the chat if anybody wants to check out my multilingual artwork. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Martin. I think we're all trying to get to the other side of that border one way or another. Thanks for sharing that poem with us, and for yours as well. Round of applause for Martin Parker. On deck, Jackie and Cathabella. Please welcome now Elizabeth. Hello, Elizabeth.
Hello, everyone. Ellen, it's always such a gift to hear your work. Thank you so much for that beautiful feature. And thank everyone who's read. I said I was going to do rejected poems, but then I went for the It's Not Finished Yet poem. That's okay. I had this idea that I would write poems for ancestors I'm finding out about but hadn't met, to see if I could like create a relationship with them. So this is a short piece. It's called Agata. Your name cut with elegance, Agata Ayuteri. Your family perhaps descended from a Baroque poet. Your birth in Corsica, La Corse, the suggestion among your children you were destined for better, a longer life, a finer one, an easier one. I find you not on the ship's register, but better, your entry document, which creates a story. 5'2", hair, chestnut, eyes, chestnut, Italian, Southern. Southern, a coded message, poor, rural, worker, peasant, dark. A stamp saying undesirable except for labor or birthing labor, despite the history of you, French, good family, educated husband, or perhaps these parts are myths. Even so, when your grown children speak of you, it is with awe, loss, hushed tones, speaking of someone ill or fragile. But Agata, great-grandmother, how fragile could you have been to have birthed 7 children, all of whom survived to have their own? The border agent, he calls your hair chestnut, your eyes chestnut, neither black nor brown. Even at 5'2", you must have made an impression. I recognize you, leaving your aunt, arriving to your husband. I must see you in the mirror sometimes. I think maybe Papa saw it too. Thank you.
Beth, that was great. I maintained an account with myheritage.com for quite some time because just the whole idea of discovering your ancestors and to learn where you came from, and how your story gets created is just fascinating to me, and connecting to the chain and figuring out, upon whose shoulders we stand, etc. So, and those little clues that you get, which don't tell you much, but like, just an image of a boat ticket, so, that kind of thing, or very powerful little pieces of information that create a bigger story. So I hope your exploration leads to relationships in the way that you imagine with these people long since who walked on this earth to get you where you are now. And thank you so much for being here. It's really nice to see you again. Round of applause for Beth Amato. On deck, Bill Gaines. Please welcome Jackie and Cathabella. Hello to both of you.
Hello. Hi, Rick. Thank you. I'd like to share screen. I'll put our work there so we can read it together. And we're thinking about resistance in a big way and in so many different ways. And we have Rick with us with I call it a gigantic shakuhachi to accompany us. You can hear him in the background. So we call it the roots of resistance. She finds herself in her own hands, a butterfly she never catches, just follows a different path every day. Jackie.
Dandelions blowing in the breeze. You can sway me, but not pluck me from my deep roots.
And this is a little part by Siggy, our Siggy, who we think she's successfully had her surgery today. We've been waiting for this, her gallbladder removal, and her granddaughter said she did well. So we haven't talked to her yet, but we have a good report. Roots run deep in Wisconsin, crossing the Mississippi, became a tumbleweed. A little different from roots, right, Jackie?
Yeah.
Okay, speaking the silence of trees. My fantasy selves lined up on Earth ad infinitum, wearing flowery hats, reading protest poems.
Sitting around doing nothing. A gold mountain will soon be gone, my mom used to say.
Dismayed, distraught, planted with poets on the border. Have we grown up to be thorns on the side of history?
rinsing the rice until all the starch is gone. I have become mother despite my resistance.
My little mother, after he left her 5 children, the last too much, climbed the highest hill, carrying us all by herself.
I resist calling my friend out on his requisites. An Adonis statue without the stature.
Holiday rebels, true to form. In the elegant garden, the white clover he slips round my finger and calls it engagement day.
I never read the Valentine's Day card he delivered, peeking into the envelope, finding no money enclosed.
On the old porch, in moonlight, I became an owl. My heart flapping, the muse caught it and got carried away.
That's the shakuhachi, right?
Yes, look at that.
Oh, it's not that big.
Yeah, wonderful.
Thank you, Rick.
You're
Both
welcome.
Ricks.
That was beautiful. Thank you, Jackie. Thank you, Rick Looper, for letting us collaborate.
Yeah, I don't know.
like
That's a pretty big shakuhachi, I think. But,
I know. Rick, come back.
you know, but that's okay.
He
You
said
know,
it's a very big shakuhachi.
even Rick's shakuhachis are humble, I guess. Thank you guys very much. Thank you,
You're
Rick.
welcome.
It's a night for protest, I think.
Sure. Careful where you stick that
Resistance.
thing, by the way. Thank you, Cathabella. Thank you, Jackie. A lot of fun lines in that poem. I'm going to, as soon as the reading is over, I'm going to rinse all the starch off my rice just to be safe.
Very
So
good.
thank you for that idea. And thank you guys for being here and for the Siggy update as well. Round of applause for Jackie, Cathabella, and Rick. On deck is Sarita Martin. Please welcome now Bill Gaines. Hello, Bill.
Howdy, everybody. Thank you all for being here. I just have two poems, two little ones tonight. This is called, excuse me, this is called Liquid. Steady is the water, but long is the shift. The ridges on the bottom don't show up top, for a liquid takes the shape of its container, and its container is all of time itself. And who are you but a lost canoe? End of that piece. The other one is called The Mud You Sink In. Fester hard in the soggy mire. Embrace the muck and the germs and the flies and the secret love of the disappointing act. Rationalize that you feed the world. When you're gone, you're not nowhere, you're everywhere. Live it up because you're nothing special. Everything dies with a different attitude, but all the same, everything dies. One more lump of plant food is hard to appreciate, and the effort you put into your decay is a trap door in the world. And you feed the microscopics, but you don't feed your audience. And the mud you sink in is a vector, not a circle, a taker, not a giver, the world of you, not the world of us. Truly just mud. And peace. Thank you. That's it for me.
Thank you, Bill. Did you just call us all a lost canoe?
I did. Yeah, what of it?
I just feel like those are fighting words.
Well, fight me.
Maybe well later we'll all fight and I think we'll resolve it one way or another. But otherwise I enjoyed the work. Thank you so much for sharing it with us. Thanks for being here, Bill.
Thank you all for your
King of the
time.
Lost Canoes, Bill Gaines, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks, Bill. Round of applause for Bill Gaines. On deck, Sean Mahoney. Please welcome Sarita Martin. Hello, Sarita.
Oh, hi everyone. I'm just here to listen. I put a note in the chat, but maybe Rick didn't see it. I'm just going to be all ears tonight. Thank you.
Round of applause for Sarita Martin. Well done, Sarita. That was a very made-up poem. Loved it. Thank you so much for sharing it. And sorry I missed the note in the chat after the first one. But glad you're here. Thanks for being here and listening. On deck is Ken Scott. Please welcome now Sean Mahoney. Hello, Sean.
Hello, Rick. Hello, everyone. So I have one piece tonight, and originally, prior to tonight, prior to a few hours ago, it was called How Power Works. But something during Michael G. Hickey's set, his portion of the reading, had me thinking I might change it to Blood Can't Be Cold When Poetry is Read. And if you have any ideas or comments on that, please, in the chat. For now, I'll just call it How Power Works. What are you buying with all that money? Finding holes on the road to collapse into, drive into, sink into, let that sink in. Let your density be your guide. Let me be your McFly when social services stagnate, when boomers and Gen X, Z, and millennial cower behind a photoshopped world of green screens and flying monkeys and deep fakes and snowflakes, cucks and trolls, incels, libtards. How is it that you did not pass English classes? You so dazzle with your prepositions and transitive verbs. Please, let's give the mass movement they are let's give them the mass movement they are afraid of. The light is mine. Go home to your loved ones and families. Your secretive friends, what did you do when stripped? Did you grab the pole or scramble for the coat? I read nearly all you wrote, late into the night and out early into morning. Sought your cup, I fought for you, watched your soaps, your strokes, pet your dogs and taped tracing paper together during that writing fever dream. I gave you soul while you gave them the mass movement they are afraid of on the road to hell, to your Copernicus and rotational devices, to a centering of you, of me, with the politicos orbiting our head cheese, outer bands below you, me, Orwell, the huge amounts of usage. Nation of laws, nation of loss, land population of lakes and trees, you gave them the mass movement they are afraid of. I found myself, all 17 jagged pieces, all 62 irregular segments and curves at the bottom of your brilliant dark ocean. I found you within hundreds of crimson snapdragons, endless petals of blood cells, corpuscles of fluid volatility, plasma-rich, cell to cell to cell, never-ending piece, segment, curve. We will always outnumber your fluid dollar, hair strand, skin, cell to axon to nerve to electrical signal. We reroute. We restart, reassess, refuse to repack and bury the mass movement they are afraid of. Thank you.
Sean, thank you very much. And there he goes. He's just leaving. He's joining the Olympics team. He's come back. Here he is. but he's done. So that's it. Sean, thank you
Sorry,
so
I had
much
to
for
let one of
that.
the dogs in, scratching at the door. It was so distracting. Hi.
You have an Olympics team as a door.
Yeah, I do. I got a lot of respect for the women tonight.
That's great. Well, thanks for being here. Thanks for being kind and responsive to your animals, and great piece. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks. Cheers, everyone.
Round of applause for Sean Mahoney. On deck is Heidi Casa. Please welcome Ken Scott. Hi, Ken.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. I've got two pieces this evening. Hold on just a second. The first piece that I'm going to do is a kind of a positive affirmation piece with an esoteric vibe. It's called Consent. Consent. You are the result of your own consent. The fabric of your reality consists of your consent. Everything happening to you was permitted by your consent. It always did, and it always will. From the day you were born to the death you consented to. Do not ever get it twisted. The all is mind. The universe is mental. You are divine fractal of the all. And as such, you are likewise the mind that defines your success and your failure, your hope and your despair, your joy and your pain, your youth and your aging, your wisdom and your ignorance, your vision and your blindness, your strength and your weakness, your wealth and your poverty, your health and your illness, your life and your death. Even as your body cannot live without your mind, your body also cannot die without your mind. Let that sink in. Your body needs permission from your mind in order to die, which means that this world can only kill you if you consent to it. But there's a catch. Your mind is indeed the quantum computer collapsing the wave of infinite possibilities into the stream of reality divined by your consent, but that consent lives within the heart of your subconscious expectations. The profound part of your mind not dominated by mere mental assent. The 95% of your mental activity functioning far beyond the 5% you call consciousness. That deep womb of being, the true seat of quantum entanglement, is where the real consent takes place. Permission to stay whole or suffer disease, permission to be complete or live with handicap, permission to own your own home or suffer the homeless tent, permission to have opulence or live with lack, permission to embrace knowledge, wisdom, and enlightenment, or to be a slave of ignorance, superstition, and fear, permission to be safe from all harm or to be perpetually suffering beatings, theft, torture, and rape, permission to have a heart of empathy, gentleness, and compassion, or to be dead on the inside. It was always an inward journey. Diving deep into the core of your subconscious mind, communing with the very womb of reality at the heart of your soul in order to sow a new seed, a new image, a new reality. It is time for us to collectively withdraw consent from the lie that has held us in bondage for thousands of years. Time for us to collectively sow a new seed into the ancient womb of the deep one, the infinitesimal infinite, the silence of all sounds in one, the omnipresent now. Time for us to collectively reprogram our subconscious expectations in order to permanently deny permission to the lethality of weapons against our bodies, the weaponization of vital resources against our survival, the real original sin known as the monetization of human life, and the violently selfish greed of this evil world. It is time for us to withdraw the consent that will render us all extinct, and it is time for us to collectively consent from the very core of our being to a world of lasting peace, truth, and life, where eternal love is the only true reality. All needs are met, and there is always enough for everyone. That's that one. The next piece that I'm going to do, this harkens back to the days of my erotic poetry decades ago. And this particular statue has constantly inspired that poetry. This is a Paleolithic sculpture about 20,000, 30,000 years old called the Venus of Lespuch. It was originally damaged when it was excavated. And on the right, of course, is the restored version. And this is the inspiration for this next piece. It's called Venus of Lespuch. Her timeless voice speaks from the remains of an ivory tusk sculpture, shouts, rejoices, moans ecstatically in the corpulence of her primordial beauty, goddess of boundless voluptuous flesh, first femininity from the dawn of time, great womb who gave birth to desire, sweet fulfillment, fertility, abundance. Hers are the broadest hips that cannot be denied, the most massive nurturing breasts that must be enjoyed, the great earth who calls for seed, abundant, flowing love seed, into her wet, pouting blossom of womanly hunger and sublime fecundity, the two pendulous mountainous breasts overflowing with the milk of loves and eager to shelter the strong tower deep within her undulating valley of bliss. The ancient memory of her villages remembers her name from the beginning, for she is the loving womb who bore them all, the massive breasts who gave nourishment and passionately embraced her lovers with devoted ecstasy and consummate fulfillment. Excuse me. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Glad you're back this week very much, and nice to hear you harken back to the erotic poetry of Ken Scott Yore, as it were.
Thank you. Thank you.
Always interested to see what you're going to do when you're here. So thanks for that tonight. Round of applause for Ken Scott. Thank you, Ken. On deck, Julian Matthews. Please welcome Heidi Casa. Hello, Heidi.
Hi, Rick. Hi, everybody. Ellen, those are great poems tonight. And Ken, it is nice to hear both of yours, like your both of your signature styles. I have two. This first one is called Running in the Same Place. Another one of those times, racing the wind, when I wind up on that hill, tying my shoes, sitting still as can be, breathing slower, glaring out at the night, feeling a whistle form. With my two bright eyes, a call out to the darkness. I know this is a point, and I waver, that I come to, staring up at the backlit steeple. It is not one of these elements. The sky, I watch as it disappears. It isn't the rumble of the train. I feel the rain melting to me. People say I try to prove things, to them, to myself, that I do it for that rush, and no other reason. But I know it's because I know it. Reducing me to one, in turn, leaves me many. I can build off that. It's not a question of proving. I know when times get rough, whether life keeps going. It's not a question of can or can't. It just goes. When they tell me I have no choice, this is what I do. I reach my hands out here at the bottom and touch these wet leaves with widespread hands. Because it isn't that streetlight. It could be the rain. It isn't that red beacon or the black silhouette of trees. It isn't even that school or those steps and back. Not even the combination of lost, lonely elements can make me feel, see, hurt, breathe, making that pain escape. Any of these could be gone tomorrow. Maybe I won't have to come here again. This short spontaneity, while lives go on, brings me here, now. What I want to do, what I do, clutching wet leaves in both hands. Will it? Will it change the world to remember? Reflected spray on the inside of a plastic cup full of ice as ginger ale pours in at an angle. Feeling soothed by spices as if packaged and sent out just for consumption, a person were embodied in a thin cookie, woven with years of memory, comfort, and stitched afghans wrapped in gold bows, and whatever it means, love. A mountain shadow meaning anything from silver to Silverado, tough and smooth or a type of cloak. Feet kissing ground between jaunts into the air. Gulping water like kissing it. Will it make anyone better? Will it do? Thank you.
Thank you, Heidi. Wonderful work tonight. I'm kind of stuck on the idea of people as little thin cookies, and now that's how I want to go. Please make me into cookies and spread me around for everybody.
Oh, and if anyone is going to be in Baltimore next week, I am. So if anybody wants to meet up at AWP or outside of that, let me know.
Will you have cookies with you? Think about it. Heidi, thank you so much for being here. Great work. Have a great time at OP. Um, say hi to Christopher George for us as well. Round of applause for Heidi Casa. I'm on deck to close out the reading. Please welcome Julian Matthews. Hello, Julian.
Hi. Oh, share screen, please. Okay, got it. Thank you. A book's worth. I don't fold the corners of pages of books to know where to stop. I haven't underlined either since school textbook days. Bookmarks tend to fall out. And annotating with tiny multicolored sticky notes is a Gen Z thing. Not for me. I try to stop at the end of a chapter or just remember the page number. I don't want to mess up a brand new book. It's a kind of reverence, something sacred, endowing it with spiritual presence in my hands. Every page turned, a salute to the author, respect for the pains it took to produce it. The ink spent, fingers calloused from rewrites, the fiction birthed from careful research, the back and forth of edits, fixing plot holes, cutting bits out, tightening dialogue, shifting graphs around, proofreading the final proofs, then letting go. Why deface the best parts of someone's considered creation with a mark? It's like vandalizing a prehistoric painting in a cave in France. Besides, I don't want the book to talk to other books about being mistreated and when it returns to the shelf. Only say how my eyes widen in parts or how I laughed out loud midway or teared up at the end. I want the book to feel valued, to know it meant something even if I only read once. That it transferred the imagination from one writer's mind to imprint a memorable story into another reader's mind, that it gave meaning, relevance to at least one other human being, that it did its part to add to the collective consciousness of the world, and that the book left its mark, the words, the author's legacy, and somehow the world is a little better for it. Another one, short one, if I may. Oh, my core. You speak of getting fit again, of strengthening my core. Wait, what exactly is the core? Is it like an apple's core after I've chewed it, the kind that a worm bores through? And where exactly is this core located? Is the core in my gut, somewhere between my navel and my butt? Or is the core a metaphor for my heart, the one that is doing all these crunches just to please you? Feel it right there. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it. I plank and bridge, bird dog and twist, bend and turn. I pull up, lift over and over and over. You shout out about abs, glutes, and obliques, new words for parts I didn't even know existed. Dig deep, hold, 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 core, core, core. Are you feeling it now? Are you feeling it now? Yes, yes, yes. Thank you.
Julian, I'm hoping that listening to that poem tonight counts as exercise for the rest of us. Please let us know what you think. Glad you made it in tonight. Thanks for both those pieces. Well done. Round of applause for Julian Matthews. Two poems for me to close out the reading. Still reading from my book, High Moose Alert. Imagine you're in Dawson City in the Yukon in Canada. It is your last night there, and you've headed to Diamond Tooth Gertie's because it's the only thing going on in this little town. This is that. The poem is called Diamond Tooth Gertie's. We're here now because they have the two brewers' peated whiskey we wanted to try. We try it. They only take money, but any kind of money. The show starts in a half hour. The whiskey won't last that long. Pace yourself, Addie says. It is noticed the old-timey piano has an electric keyboard inserted where the old-timey keyboard used to be. They say the shows get more risque as the evening progresses. We're at the very first show, so I may have to stand up and show them. Addie stops me right there. I don't know what else we're going to do for this half hour. Get ready, Dawson, for the full Rick Lupert experience. Before I can do anything, live jazz commences. It's good. It's better than touching a mummified toe to my lips. Everyone in town is in this room. We lose track of the jazz as we start to count the trips we've been on since we've been married. This is now one of them, but it wasn't when I wrote it. The men's bathroom condom dispenser is out of condoms, so it's either been a busy night or someone's not doing their job. Some of the men in our group end up wearing can-can dresses. This was always going to happen. There was never a way around this. And this piece, written for this week's Torah portion, called in Hebrew Tetzaveh, which means command. The poem is called By Your Command. I don't like to take commands, but my bosses like to issue them, and my mortgage likes to get paid. I say I don't like to take commands, but I'm a rule follower. No one jaywalks on my watch without getting judged. I don't like to take commands or even issue them. I say let love rule and will do whatever love commands me to do. I'm a free-form command follower. Oxygen takes its own path into my lungs. My blood flows at its discretion. I might say your wish is my command, but only because I'm in the service industry. And did I mention my mortgage? I find this performance commanding. I find this command performative. I find signs on the street that say, call this number, but I never do. When God commanded Moses to command the people to build a holy place in the desert, everyone did what they were told. I probably would have too, if I were there. My tradition tells me I was there. So I'm assembling my own breastplate of judgment. I'm taking the dress code seriously. 2 onyx stones? Got 'em. 12 gems on the breastplate? Say no more. Loaves of unleavened bread at the tabernacle entrance? Hand me your finest flour, and I implore you, do not think of it again. It is done. It is what I've been commanded to do. Alrighty, people, we did it. Another evening at Cobalt in the books. I want to thank Ellen Webre for being a phenomenal featured reader tonight, pasting the stuff I pasted in earlier for Ellen. You can tip Ellen for her reading via PayPal or Venmo there at the addresses I just posted in the chat. You can download Ellen's broadside at the Cobalt Poets website link that I just posted there as well. When you're on that website, be sure to not only see all the broadsides which have been published, but click on calendar to see who's coming up in the future weeks. Next week, Kazuaki will be our featured reader all the way from Japan. And then in 2 weeks, we will have Kim Adonizio. Kim will be here not only as our featured reader, but helping us to celebrate the 700th broadside. That's happening in 2 weeks. So that's pretty cool. Also on that website, if you're not already on our email list, click on email list and add your email there, and you'll get emails every week, which you can then look at as you might do with an email. In the email, there's a link to the Zoom. it lets you know what's going on. It's like an informational thing. That's how emails work sometimes. So that's something you can do. Finally, also posted in the chat is a link to Ellen's book, A Burning Lake of Paper Suns, there at Amazon. I saw it earlier. It's also available at Moontide Press. So get it where you'd like to get it, and do get it because man, it's with a title like A Burning Lake of Paper Suns, it's going to be an O-fest. So there you go. Thanks everyone so much for being here. I'm going to click on Ask All to unmute so everyone can say hi to each other before we take off. Hello.
Hi.
Hi,
Hey,
Hello.
Thank you, Rick.
Hi to each
Hey
other.
everyone, I'm
Hi
about
to
to go
each
to a
other.
dive bar and start a poetry fight. Let's all go.
man, you and your poetry fights. Oh, that
It
was
just
an
sounds like a
excellent
good
feature,
idea.
Ellen.
I don't know.
I really enjoyed your feature, Ellen.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was good stuff.
It was good seeing and hearing you again, Ellen.
Oh, great to see you too, Karen.
Thank you. Thank you.
First time here. Beautiful space, y'all. Like beautiful space.
All right.
Gary, thanks for being here. Please come back. I saw your note, your private note, to sign up to read next time, and I would love to hear your work too.
Yeah.
Good night. Goodbye.
On that note,
Bye,
yes.
everyone.
Gotta
Night,
run myself.
everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Karen, it's nice
Hey.
to see you.